What must be the journal entry of Primark concerning the freight cost? What does this freight prepaid tell us? It tells us that the buyer or the seller actually paid cash to the courier. The seller actually paid the courier. And who is the seller in this transaction? Primark Merchandising is the seller. And since we are on the viewpoint of Primark, then we must credit cash for 1,200. How about the account title to be debited? When the term is FOB shipping point, who must shoulder the freight cost or who must debit the account title freight? The buyer. And who is the buyer in this transaction? Harriet Crisologo. Harriet Crisologo, the buyer, must be the one to debit freight in or out. Freight in. But are we on the viewpoint of Harriet? No. We are concerned only with recording the transactions of Primark Merchandising, not of Harriet Crisologo. So we must not write freight in here as our debited account. Must we debit freight out instead? Definitely not, because the term is FOB shipping point, not FOB destination, which means, again, that the buyer, not the seller, must record the freight. So what then must be the debit of Primark? Think about it carefully. Who must have shouldered the freight cost or who should have paid cash to the courier? The buyer, Harriet Crisologo, because of the term FOB shipping point. But who actually paid cash to the courier for the freight cost? The seller, Primark, because of the term freight prepaid. Harriet Crisologo, the buyer, should have paid the courier, but Primark, the seller, was actually the one which paid the courier. If you were Primark, what would you do? Harriet should have paid, but you were the one who actually paid. What would you do? Asked for reimbursement, meaning asked Harriet Crisologo to pay you. In other words, increase your accounts receivable from Harriet. And how do you increase accounts receivable? By debiting it for 1,200. Got it? Then, explain the purpose of the entry to record payment of freight on the sale. At this point, let me ask you, how much is the balance of Primark's accounts receivable from Harriet? Debit accounts receivable for 14,000 here for the selling price of the merchandise. And then, another debit in the amount of 1,200 for the payment of freight for a total of 15,200. If later on, just in case, let's just assume, Harriet Crisologo is able to pay within 10 days from April 8. What must be the basis of this 2% discount? Must the discount be based on 15,200 total accounts receivable or only on this 14,000 selling price? Only on this 14,000 pesos selling price. In other words, the accounts receivable of Primark arising from prepayment of the freight amounting to 1,200 is not subject to discount, even if paid by Harriet in full within the discount period. Please keep that in mind. That is very important.